Hello everyone, a very good morning to all of you. Today is 23rd of December and let's start with the today's Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, in this video, we are going to discuss the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper. We'll take the entire newspaper, we'll pick up the relevant articles, we'll simplify the articles, we'll see background of the articles, and then in a very simple kind of an explanation, we are going to discuss them. Now, before starting up, if you are new here, if you are watching for the first time, I would like to tell you that you can download the synoptic notes of this analysis. In this synoptic notes of all the articles have been taken and these notes are given here. Editorials have also been taken up, and in last you will also be getting a mains practice question. These synoptic notes can be downloaded from my Telegram channel, and the link for Telegram channel is available in description box in YouTube, or you can visit Telegram and can search there by typing Thinking Palette by Sahil. Okay, now before starting, we take the newspaper overview so that we can understand the placement of the articles and we can pick that which articles are important for examination. And moreover, it is also there to address your FOMO, fear of missing out. Okay, so let's start. First article, India and China to keep dialogue channels open. So recently, guys, there was the clash that happened between India and China in Tawang sector in Arunachal Pradesh, and after that there were again confrontations that increased. So here it is being said that dialogue channels, okay, core commander level talks and other level talks will be open. Now you are not required to follow and go and see the day-to-day developments in these particular articles. 45-acre land linked to a Raja, not important article. Cervical cancer jabs for girls. Now this is an important article. We'll see this with respect to the health. Then moving to the city section, so CM urges to take precautions. So now a large number of cases of COVID are coming in the China, so the precaution in India is also being asked. However, in the article, much important things are not there in not there for academic substance is not there. Then moving on in the city section, same things are going on, political news, etc. are there. So moving on in this particular direction, fine. However, here we can see article that Rajya Sabha has passed the bill to add the certain of the communities in the ST list in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Will see this thing. Then Gulf account for more than half of the Indian convicts in the foreign jail. So large number of Indians are lodged, are convicted for the crimes such as the domestic violence, murder, and many such kind of crimes. Now here some datas have been given. So in UAE, largest number of Indian convicts are there in the jail. Okay, and this is the breakup. However, it's not very much important that you remember all this particular data. Just this is important that you can remember that in the Gulf countries most number of Indian convicts are there. Then moving on, reshaping the world's response to the terror metrics. We'll see this particular article. Then in USA's actions, the worry of the global trade lawlessness. We'll see this particular article also with respect to exam. Public sphere vitiated. So controversies since the Elon Musk had taken over the Twitter, it is being talked about. However, guys, fine. This is just a masala article, not important for examination. No need to go there. Beyond the weapons. So after every 20-25 days, this exact article will come in the newspaper. What is this article? Article says that the US should push Ukraine for the resolution. Somebody will say that push Russia for the Ukraine. However, up till now, there is nothing in sight that when this particular Russia-Ukraine war is coming to an end. So from time to time, they give the prescription that the war should come to an end. But right now, the article doesn't contain substance because this is evolving matter. Then moving on, should the courts close for vacation? So guys, we'll see this particular article. Then coming to the text and the context page, the uncontrolled re-entries of the satellite, will see this particular article also. Then what do the Jammu and Kashmir land grant rules 2022 entail? Now this particular article, guys, is basically giving the details of the J&K land grant rule, that how the land can be converted in lease, what are the conditions into the lease, what are the rights, what are the liabilities. So such kind of a thing has been given. Now a lot of microscopic detail, okay, of with respect to the Jammu and Kashmir land rules have been given, and the article doesn't contains relevancy for our UPSC examinations. If you are preparing for the J&K, okay, if you are preparing for the KAS, okay, then also you need to see this article just for as an overview, but there are too much of the hairline details, not very much needed. Afghan women's rights are at risk under the Taliban regime. We'll see this particular article with respect to the examination. Airports to resume testing 2% of international flyers for COVID-19. So just as a precaution, it is being done. Girl aged 9 to 14 will be given the cervical cancer jabs. We'll see this article. Then India abstains on UNSC for Myanmar. We'll see this particular article also. Concern over bar on higher education for girls. We'll see this article. There is one article in text and context that has come. Then political articles, etc. Here, the bill to seek promote of his own doing business. We'll see this article. Then moving on. So guys, the center received feedback on lack of transparency in collegium system. So this controversy is going on for nearly a month, where what has happened, the center government is saying that the collegium system for appointment of judges in Supreme Court and High Court is lacking transparency. So therefore some reforms are needed, and the same statement is being given yet every day. Okay, so this session is going on, so these statements etc. are being made. Opposition demand for debate onto the border row denied, so the discussions are not happening, but no need to go too much into the detail in these articles. Then moving on, center rules out increase in MSP for cotton, but farmers seek more. So farmers were expecting that the MSP on the cotton will be increased, but the center has denied. Center had said that okay, we'll see the matter, we'll study the matter, and after that we'll see that whether it should be done or not. Then after that, moving on, armed forces get nod for acquisition valued at this much amount. Okay, NSC Chitra Ramakrishna granted bail, Sahitya Academy Awards. Then Ukraine is alive and kicking, will not surrender. So this Russia-Ukraine war is continuing. People are facing a lot of problems in China because of COVID-19. Then business page, this article, need taxonomy definitions to avoid greenwashing. We'll see this particular article with respect to the examination. Then other corporate trends, etc. has been given. Okay, so this is guys the overview of entire newspaper, and now let's discuss the articles one by one in detail. And guys, the only objective to show you the overview is to make you understand that which articles are actually important and which articles are not important. Listen very carefully. For example, this Jammu and Kashmir article on land rules that had come, land grants rule. Now this article will look that okay, it is something important matter, but at the end of the day, the article is containing so much of the hairline details that in our examination that we are preparing, it doesn't matters. Okay, so you should have such kind of a wisdom. Now taking the articles one by one in the detail. Before every class, we take a GS quotation which can be helpful for complementing our GS answers in 1, 2, 3 and 4. So today we will take the quotation from Ella Bhatt, who recently passed away. She has been an instrumental leading for the women cause and founder for the Seva. So Ella Bhatt says, it is our moral failure that we still tolerate poverty. So poverty is existing, it's not economic failure, it is not political failure, it is a moral failure, it is an ethical failure that we find people are starved, people are not having the basic necessities of life, and still we are not doing much of that. So this is an ethical failure. So very, very good quotation. You can use it in GS paper number 4, GS paper number 4, as well as in GS paper number 1 and 2 also. The issues of poverty are mentioned there also, you can see that. Now, taking up the first article. Okay, so the article's heading reads Uncontrolled Re-entries of Satellite. Okay, now this particular article will take with respect to GS paper number 3, GS paper number 3, issues related to the science and technology sector. Okay, now what this particular article is talking about and why this article has come recently in the news, we'll understand that first. So recently what has happened, many of the experts and scientists have endorsed an open letter which is published by the Outer Space Institute, and this open letter has been addressed to many of the space agencies around the world, and even the ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization's chairman S. Somnath has also been made as a recipient of this particular letter. Now what this particular letter is talking about? So guys, the letter is talking about that nowadays what is happening, a large number of rockets are being launched to deploy the satellites in their orbits. Now as the rockets are being deployed, when they are fired, so at multiple stages what happen, rocket sheds some of their component, okay, some of their components, and when these components are shed, they fall on the earth. Many number of times they will completely be burned in atmosphere because of the atmospheric friction, but sometimes they fall on ground, and when they fall on ground, there can be some fatality that can happen. Some humans can get injured because of these particular rockets that are getting rocket components that are falling back on earth. Now understand this particular thing. it has been provided that the Soviet Union launched first artificial satellite in 1957, and since then the satellite launches have increased manifold. Today we find that there are more than 6,000 satellites of the different countries who are there in different orbits. There are the satellites, most of them in the low earth orbit, fine, and then at the geostationary orbit at 35,786 kilometer or 36,000 kilometer, more than 6,000 satellites in low earth orbit and geostationary orbits are there. Now guys, many number of times these satellite also reach the end of their life, okay, and many number of times what happens, I told you that rockets many number of times they fail, okay, and many number of times there is a uncontrolled re-entry. Uncontrolled re-entry means that rocket will fail, it will simply be falling back on the earth, and depending on its shape, its angle of descent, air drag, air currents and characteristics, it will fall on certain particular part. Now understand this particular thing, that as rocket is falling, its parts will fan out, they will spread in a very big area, and therefore it will impact the different parts of earth. And it has been provided that because of the speed at which they are falling down, because of the speed at which they are falling down, they can be deadly. And according to a 2021 report by International Space Strategy, if there is a debris of this rocket falling on the earth, and if its mass is more than 300 grams, and if it falls on an airplane, on an aircraft, fine, then it will lead to a catastrophic failure. What means catastrophic failure? It means all the people who are there on that particular flight will die. All people will die if such a kind of a debris falls. Is it clear? So this is something that has been provided in this particular direction. Fine. So therefore, guys, this OSI Open Space Institute letter, it has provided this particular thing, that we need to bring some kind of an international treaty, international agreement on this direction. They have provided that in past many such incidents have happened where these components have fallen back on the earth. For example, in 2018, remnants of a Russian rocket and China's Long March 5B rockets remnant have fallen on Indonesia, Peru, India, Ivory Coast, and this thing can happen again. Fortunately, people did not got injured in this, but in future this might lead to a very big problem. Moreover, when basically if the components are falling back on the earth, and if there is fuel that's contained in that, it will lead to atmospheric and terrestrial chemical contamination, and that chemical contamination of environment is another problem that comes here. Now in this particular direction, do we have any international convention? Yes, we have one international convention, and that convention is the Liability Convention of 1972. But this Liability Convention of 1972 obligates a country that if they have launched some rocket and if had got failed, it have fallen on the earth, and if somebody got injured, some property got damaged, then they need to pay for the damages. So country need to pay for damages, but it doesn't puts obligation on countries to outrightly prevent them. Is it clear? Now it has been provided that, see, nowadays there are advances in electronics and fabrication have happened, because of which the smaller satellites can be built. Okay, smaller satellites can be built, they can be launched into the large numbers. If the smaller satellites are there, their weight is less, their size is less, we don't need that rockets, okay, with those high capabilities. Moreover, these satellites, they are likely to burnt up if even if they are falling back into the orbit. This is one thing that has happened. But now the technologies have also been deployed in such a way that it is possible to control the entry of the falling pieces on the earth. Okay, this is possible. For example, India has demonstrated the capabilities in this particular direction just couple of months back. For example, what happened? There was India's RISAT-2 satellite. Now, RISAT-2 satellite has been there in the orbit for nearly 13 years, and now the RISAT-2 came towards the end of the life, and then it fall back. Now ISRO, before 1 month prior of its falling back, they started to track this particular satellite. It tracked it, okay, and basically they led the safe and sustainable space operations. It plotted a predicted path, okay, that on a predicted path this particular satellite should fall. They plotted that, and eventually what happened? It fell in Indian Ocean in a very planned manner. It is a planned re-entry. It is a planned and controlled re-entry. So as India has demonstrated this capability, other countries can also learn the capability and can fit the components which are prone to fall, that they can be made to land in a particular manner. Okay, so this is something that has been asked. So guys, we know this thing that satellites are making the communication more seamless. They are providing a lot of life-saving communication facilities, but at the same time, they are also becoming a nuisance. Moreover, outer space is also getting lot of congested because of these satellites and because of the components that are there. So we need to have an outer space, though there is outer space treaty, but in this particular direction we need to expand the outer space treaty, so all these particular dimensions are also covered there. So that is all about it, and I hope you have understood it. And now we'll move to the next article. Now, girl aged girls aged 9 to 14 to get cervical cancer jabs through schools. Okay, now this particular article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 2 health, GS paper number 2 health, and even in the prelims examination this particular kind of thing can be asked, because in the past such questions have been asked in the exam. So let's take the article. So basically, guys, when we talk about the cervical cancer is one of the most deadliest cancer, taking many lives across the world and particularly in India. When we talk about the cervical cancer, it is the fourth most common cancer, particularly in the women around the world. And when we talk about India, cervical cancer is the second most common cancer in women. So breast cancer, cervical cancers, they are the common cancer, and cervical is the second most common cancers. Moreover, in terms of the women that are dying because of the cervical cancer, it is huge in India. India contributes the largest share of global cervical cancer burden. Largest share of means largest number of women suffering from cervical cancer are there in India. And India accounts for nearly 1 in every 4 deaths globally due to cervical cancer. So this is a huge disease burden on our Indian demography. Because of this particular thing, recently government has taken some very important steps. For example, what had happened, now government is coming out with the vaccine for the girls between the age of 9 to 14 years, and these vaccines will be taken up in the schools. And in this particular direction, National Technical Advisory Group for Immunization, NTAGI. Now you might have heard the name of NTAGI a lot during the COVID-19 vaccination that was going on. So it is a technical advisory group for immunization. It for example, it advises which particular group is to be given vaccine. Okay, so on that particular thing, it strategizes. So it has recommended that the human papillomavirus vaccine is to be given, and it will become the part of the universal immunization program. So under universal immunization program, India is administering the life-saving vaccines, and now the girls will be targeted. For this particular thing, guys, what had happened, now we also even made indigenously developed vaccine. So indigenously developed vaccine, that is the Cervavac vaccine, have been deployed, and this vaccine will be given by mid 2023. Now this particular vaccine has already received the approval by Drug Controller General of India. Now Drug Controller General of India is an apex body. Fine, it comes under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. It gives approval for the vaccines and the drugs if they can be given. So the approval has to be taken. So now the idea is that the vaccination will be done primarily through the schools, because in schools there is high enrollment of the girls, and by the records that are there with the school authorities, girls can be better targeted. But at the same time, the girls who are not able to attend the school on the day of vaccination, they will be provided the vaccine at the health facility, and the schools which are not in the the girls which are not in the schools, the girls which have dropped out of the schools, they will be reached through community outreach and mobile teams. Okay, so this is the way as the cervical cancer vaccine is being given. Okay, and it is the best thing is that it is indigenously developed vaccine. Fine, so that is about it. And now guys, moving to next article. Afghan women's rights are at risk under the Taliban regime. Okay, now in this particular direction, guys, why this particular article has come, first of all, This article has come because recently Taliban has imposed the ban on the girls to attend universities. Okay, so in higher education of girl, ban has been imposed. So we are going to see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 2, women related issues. GS paper number 2, women related issues. Now, let's discuss this particular article first of all. Basically, guys, what happened? 1996 to 2001. 1996 to 2001, the Afghanistan was under the control of Taliban. We call it as Taliban 1.0. Then what had happened in 2001? Fine, there was 9/11 attack happened. Okay, what happened? The World Trade Center of USA got attacked in a terrorist invasion. Because of that particular thing, the USA provided this particular thing that we want to cut terrorism from its root, and Afghanistan was a place where the Al Qaeda was thriving. Al Qaeda was an organization that was behind these 9/11 attacks. So it was said that we want to thrive out, we need to weed out the terrorists from their roots. Okay, so therefore the USA came to Afghanistan, and for nearly 20 years they stayed in Afghanistan. Okay, now in this particular direction, guys, in this particular direction, what happened in 2020, the peace talks started between Afghanistan and between Taliban, and it was provided by in 2020, peace talks started between three parties, that is Afghanistan, Taliban, and USA forces. Fine. And in these peace talks, a proposal was kept that USA will pull out of Afghanistan if Taliban agrees that they will not pick up the weapons, they will help in establishing democracy in the nation, minority rights will be established. Okay, then the USA will pull back. Taliban agreed. They said that okay, we will be agreeing on all what the things that you are saying, and USA withdrew out of the Taliban. USA withdrew out of the Afghanistan, and Taliban has since came back to the power. And Taliban since have came back to the power. Okay, so in 2021 that particular thing happened. Now, basically in the initial days, the Taliban members provided that we will respect women's education rights, we will be respecting the minority rights, all such kind of things we are going to do. Okay, but now they are showing their true colors, and in this particular direction what they are doing, they are taking away the women's rights, particularly the rights for education. And recently what has happened, the Taliban has banned women from attending the private and public universities in Afghanistan with immediate effect. So this is that they are showing their true colors now. Now, the Taliban initially they demonstrated a modicum, a moderation. Why they demonstrated moderation? Because a lot of their funds were freezed. Moreover, they wanted recognition of the other countries and organizations. So this they demonstrated a kind of a moderation. Fine, but now they are showing their true colors. So basically, as the part of the USA's mediated 2020 peace deal, the USA has actually pinned down a lot of hopes on Taliban, and that is the failure of the USA's diplomacy. That is the failure of USA's diplomacy. Now understand this particular thing. It is being said that whatever the fragile gains that were made in Afghanistan in last 20 years, all these particular gains are now rolling back. For example, when we talk about the female labor force participation rate in Afghanistan, it got increased when the USA was present in Afghanistan. For example, the female labor force participation rate, it increased from 15% in 2009 to nearly 22% in 2019. But again, the female labor force participation rate is declining. Why? Because Talibanis are not allowing the women to take employment. Now, according to International Labour Organization, it has been provided that Afghan women's employment have fallen by 16% in the third quarter of 2021. So since Taliban took over power, 16% employment has came down. Now Taliban has outrightly provided that all the places women will not be allowed to work. Only at those places they can work where the man cannot do that particular kind of a job. The jobs that man cannot do, only in those jobs the women will be allowed. Now in this particular direction, guys, it has been provided that Taliban during the peace process, fine, they during the Taliban peace process, USA actually failed. It did not put forward that women rights is a red line. It did not put forward that the women's rights is a red line. It was not taken a very important priority. Okay, and because of that particular thing, now the Taliban is taking advantage. Now understand this particular thing, that since the capture of power, Taliban has made many of the contradictive moves. Okay, basically in this particular direction, guys, what had happened, first of all, initially they did not allowed women from going out initially. Why? Because they said there is a lot of chaos. But then they outrightly allowed that women can never go outside without the accompaniment of, without accompanying with the male member. Okay, so we find this particular thing, that Taliban 2.0 is no different from the Taliban that ruled between 1996 to 2001. In this particular direction, guys, it has been provided that the most impacted are those households which are run by women, because women are not allowed to work outside, and the household run by women, how they are able to survive. This is something. And according to the World Bank report, it has been provided that in 2019, 56% of teachers in the country were women. This was the highest number in 20 years that have been there, and because of the women teachers that were there, female education got a lot of boost in Taliban. But now this is again reverting back. Now, right now, as the war is going on in the Ukraine, so the Ukraine war has retained all the international attention, and nobody is bothered about the Afghanistan's women and how the rights are getting violated in Afghanistan. So now we need to ensure that the world comes together, and apart from the Russia-Ukraine war, the world should also focus on basically the crisis that are faced by minority and women in Afghanistan. This is something that we need to focus upon. Now, moving to the next article. Okay, before that, let's take the doubt. Okay, uh, Lohit, sir, good morning. Satellites are how to affect on human beings. Lohit, as we have understood, na, suppose there is some satellite, it had completed the end of the life, and now let's say it is falling back on the earth. So if it will fall back on the earth, it might, the pieces of that satellite might fall on some human, and the humans will get injured. Okay, Anil Kumar, cervical cancer. Yes, Anil, what's the problem in cervical cancer? Please tell. Fine. Now, reshaping the world's responses to terror metrics. Now, this particular article we'll see with respect to GS paper number 2, issues of international terrorism. Issues of international terrorism. By the way, international terrorism is also mentioned in GS paper number 4. But this there in this article, strategic dimension is mentioned, not ethical. So therefore, we'll see it in GS paper number 2. Okay. Now, the article is talking about that what has happened over the past few months. World has seen many of the high profile meetings on terrorism. Diplomatic meets have happened on to the terrorism, countering terrorism. Even India has exceptionally put forward the cause that we need to fight against terrorism unitedly. Why? Because India right now is the United Nations Security Council's non-permanent member. Okay, India became non-permanent member for a period of 2 years, and this tenure is now going to end with the end of 2022. And for the month of December particularly, India is the president in the United Nations Security Council, and India has put forward in the past multiple India has put forward into the past multiple proposals on terrorism. For example, no money for terror conference was hosted by India. Then counter terrorism committee meet was hosted by India on the terrorism. So this is that has happened. However, the author is saying that though the meetings are happening, but concrete thing has not came out with that. Concrete thing has not came out with that. It has been provided that basically two big terror attacks that had happened in this particular century was 2001 terror attack in New York that happened, 9/11 attack, and the second is 2000 attack, 2008 26/11 attack that happened in Mumbai. And basically these particular terrorist attacks are being called as the new age terrorism. New age terrorism. Why? Because the terrorists, they hijacked the airplane, and by that particular airplane they executed that deadly attack. So the terrorists have become very much sophisticated. With a lot of precision they can execute their deadly operation. So this is a new age terrorism. Moreover, when we talk about the Mumbai terror attacks, they are an example of a state-sponsored terrorism because it got emanated in Pakistan. Moreover, apart from that, there are other terrorist attacks also. For example, Charlie Hebdo, which is a magazine in Paris. Charlie Hebdo's offices were attacked. Okay. Then there was the Bardo Museum in Tunis that got attacked in 2015. Okay. So these are some of the high-profile terrorist attacks that have happened, and many of the organizations are at the forefront. For example, the Islamic State. Now, Islamic State is a relatively new organization. Al Qaeda. Okay, they have their own ideologies, fine. They have their own caliphs, fine, and they are at the forefront. Terrorism is omnipresent. Omnipresent. Omnipresent means which is present at every place. So, in some or the other form, terrorism is present in every country, and every country is 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 suffering from the terrorist. So basically, we need to understand this particular thing, that it has to be taken very much seriously. Though there is a decline in the number of terrorism attacks that have happened, but the decline in the serious terrorist incidents doesn't means that there is a decline in terrorism. Okay, then if their activities have declined, doesn't mean that the terrorism as a whole has declined. We need to be very mindful about this particular thing. Now further guys, it has also been provided that basically there are other terrorist organizations also which are not that popular like Al Qaeda, ISIS. Okay, so there are basically there are the small terrorist outfits also that are emerging. Okay, we need to be mindful about them also. Now in this particular direction, certain measures are immediately needed, certain solutions are immediately needed, and in this particular measure, number one, what we need to do, the leaders around the world need to accept this particular thing, that terrorism is bad. Countries should not make the distinction between the bad terrorism and good terrorism. For example, Pakistan makes a distinction between good and the bad terrorism. No, terrorism is terrorism. All types of terrorism is bad. We need to understand this particular thing. Then second thing that's coming here is that we need to actively push forward for the comprehensive convention on international comprehensive convention on international terrorism, CCIT. Now CCIT was proposed by India in 1996, and comprehensive convention on international terrorism proposes a single ecosystem, single architecture dealing with all types of terrorism that are there. For example guys, today when we talk about terrorism, there are the sectoral conventions that are there. Nearly 13 sectoral conventions are there which are dealing with the different dimensions of terrorism. But no, we need to give a united response to terrorism, and one convention dealing with all aspects of terrorism needs to be there. And since 1996, CCIT is being pushed forward, but up till now what has happened, it is languishing. It has not been passed. Why it has not been passed? Because definition of terrorism has not been passed, that has not been agreed. So we need to push forward with this particular thing. The next thing that's coming here is that counter terrorism agencies. Okay, fine. Counter-terrorism agencies in different countries that they need to hone their skills, they need to improve their skills, because new age terrorism is becoming more sophisticated. So a few days back, our Minister of Home Affairs said this thing, that terrorists are becoming sophisticated. They today understand how to operate an AK-47, and at the same time they also understand how to operate cryptocurrencies. Okay, they know the metaverse. Okay, they know all the sophisticated technologies. Okay, so to deal with this new age terrorism, the counter-terrorism committees, the counter-terrorism agencies need to improve their skill sets. And the next is that we need to understand enabled and remote controlled terrorism. What is enabled or remote controlled terrorism? It is a type of a terrorism where there is a handler, person sitting thousands of kilometers away, and that particular person is giving direction to the terrorist onto the ground, and then they are executing the terrorism. So this is the remote controlled terrorism and enabled terrorism. And there are many other variants of terrorism also that are becoming a nuisance. Fine, so we need to understand them and we need to give adequate response to them. Is it clear? That is all about it. Now moving to the next article. Okay, before that, let's take some doubts if you have. So Radhika has a doubt. Why does United Nations not address the trouble of Afghan women on ground of human rights? Yes, Radhika, United Nations should intervene in this particular matter, but the point is that basically right now the United Nations and the countries, many of them are absorbed, number one, in the Russia-Ukraine war. Secondly, United Nations Security Council is the body in the United Nations which has been given responsibility to ensure peace. But within the United Nations Security Council, we have P5 countries who hold the veto on any particular matter. And in the P5 country, we have Russia, China, USA, three countries. Okay, okay, USA, Russia, China, USA, these three countries that we have. Okay, along with that there is a France and UK also. So these three countries are having a lot of conflicts between them. They are having a lot of conflicts between them. Okay, particularly China supports Pakistan. Why? Because Pakistan is an all weather friend of China. Pakistan has given Shaksgam Valley to China. Pakistan is has also China is helping Pakistan to build the China-Pakistan economic corridor. So Pakistan is exporter of terrorism. Pakistan is something which gives the refuge and support to Taliban, and China doesn't want to irritate Pakistan. So therefore, China in between many number of times basically takes some counter position here. So because of the vested interests that are there into the United Nations, some credible solution is not coming. Okay. So I hope you are clear on this particular thing. Now moving to the next article. Okay. So the next article that we are now going to take is now in US section. The article is in US sections, the worry of global trade lawlessness. Okay. Now this particular article, guys, is talking about the trade disputes right now that are going under the World Trade Organization, WTO. So this particular article, by the way, will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, in GS paper number 2, IR, and within the IR, trade relations or issues, issues on the trade, global issues on trade. Now, basically, there is one incident that had happened recently in the US. What's this particular USA? WTO has found WTO has found that there were actually, see, when Donald Trump was president, Donald Trump imposed many of the taxes on certain items from certain countries. Now WTO has found that those taxes are discriminatory. So basically tariffs were imposed on steel, aluminium, okay, aluminium imports, and these imports were from the countries from China, Norway, Switzerland, and Turkey. Okay. Now it has been found that these restrictions that were imposed, they are wrong. Why they are wrong? Number one, you have specifically picked certain countries. If you want to increase the tariff, let's say on steel, then tariff is to be increased from all the countries. Why you have deliberately picked the few countries, that is China, Norway, Switzerland, and Turkey? So in this particular way, the discrimination is going on. Now the WTO has provided this particular thing that the USA's obligation under the General Agreement on Tariff and Trade, fine, had got breached. Why? Because under the general obligation, under the obligations of General Agreement on Trade and Trade, it has very clearly provided that there cannot be any discrimination between foreign producers over the others. So you cannot cherry pick some countries and you can discriminate with them. So this is something that has happened. Now USA had tried to justify this particular thing. How USA had tried to justify this particular thing? USA had provided this particular thing that if we will import, excessively, let's say the steel, if we will excessively be importing, let's say the steel and aluminium from certain countries, what will happen? Our dependency on those countries, let's say we are importing it from China, so our dependency on the China will be increased, and many of these steels and aluminium, they are being used for manufacturing the ammunition arms. And if we become dependent on China for steel and aluminium, it means our ammunition dependency will come on China. So they said that in order to ensure that domestically we are exploring the steel and aluminium and we don't over become dependent on these countries, the high taxes have been imposed, so that it creates a kind of a disincentive for import of iron and steel from these particular countries. So how USA has justified? They had said they had justified it onto the grounds of national security. They have justified it onto the grounds of national security. They said this thing that it had said that it could lead to excessive imports of these two commodities used in defense production. Thus, it might compromise the USA's national security. This is something that has been given as an argument. But this argument has not been accepted by the WTO. The argument has not been accepted by WTO. They had said that this argument is rubbish and it doesn't lacks any of the substance. Now, in entire world, we find this particular thing that there is international economic order which is changing, which is moving. It's moving again. It is moving from the post-war cold neoliberal world order to the new geo-economic order. Okay, so I'll highlight this particular point again so that you can focus. So the global order in the world has changed, and we are moving from the post Cold War neoliberal order to the new geo-economic order. Now let's understand that what it means. So neoliberal order is that particular order where it was believed that the economy and trade are different and security is some different vertical. So basically, economic and security interests were relatively independent tracks, and the neoliberal order was based on to the principles of non-discrimination, international economic relation, and it was provided that free trade, free economic relations are the most important things which are to be pursued. Fine, strategically there might be difference, but economically we need to trade. Fine, this is the new liberal order that came. Free competition, etc., they were the hallmarks. Now, the new liberal order is being replaced by the geo-economic order. So basically, guys, it is being provided that on the basis of geography, on the basis of interest, the economic relations will be formed. So if a country is geographically aligned, okay, on the basis of the country's interest and your interest, the economic relations will be taken up. Now understand this particular thing, that why deliberately China, Turkey has been picked up. Because China and Turkey particularly are having the ideological differences with the USA, and because of the ideological differences that are there with the USA, there is a difference of thoughts that have to come, and now a strategic confrontation is also coming, particularly between the USA and China, and for that particular thing these tariffs have been increased. So therefore the WTO says that you are giving other reasons, but actual reason is that you have a strategic difference with China. This is something that has happened. Now when we talk about the neoliberal order, it is getting reduced, but it is not completely dead. Okay, the assertive independent economic and security tracks, fine, started to converge towards the geo-economic order, but still we can still we can ensure that the free order, rule based order is not completely been broken. Now in this particular direction, guys, it has been provided that this geo-economic based order, fine, if you will only be doing the trade with the countries which are aligned with your geo-economic interest, it will lead to international trade lawlessness, okay, and it will not be good for international trade. Now understand this particular thing, that the USA always lectures the Russia and China to follow the international law, to follow the international rule, international norms. But now the USA itself is not following the WTO's rule-based order, where it has been said that no discrimination needs to be done in the matters of international trade. USA itself is not following it. So this is a kind of a violation. This is the double standards of the USA that we can see. This is something which has been contained in this particular entire article. Okay. Now moving to the next article. Should the courts close for vacation? Should the courts close for vacation? Now this particular article will going to see with respect to the GS paper number 2, issues related to judiciary. Issues related to judiciary. Now, okay guys, now guys, before going in this particular article, I just wanted to discuss some of the basic details. When we talk about the vacations, guys, understand this particular thing, that Supreme Court goes on vacation during the Holi festival. Okay, 45 days of vacation is there during the summer, and around 2 week vacation are given during the Deepavali and during winter. So these are vacations that are being given to the Supreme Court. And recently what has happened, D.Y. Chandrachud, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, the Chief Justice of India, announced this particular thing, that there will be no vacation benches in the apex courts that would be available in the winter break. So in the winter break, vacation benches will not be available. What are the vacation benches? These are the benches which still work even in the vacation to deal with some urgent kind of matters. Okay, so they will not be available. Now, guys, just I want to ask from you guys, what is your opinion on the Supreme Court going on vacation? Should it go on vacation or should it not go on the vacation? Please write in the comment box. I'm just waiting for your opinion. What do you think? Should it go? Yes, it should not go. No, it should not go. What do you think? Please reply fast. Now, understand, guys, that when we talk about the matters of vacation, you need to understand this particular thing, guys, that basically there are two viewpoints that can come on this particular direction. Okay. Okay, guys, please reply what you think. I'm waiting for your replies, guys. Okay, so when the matter of vacation comes, okay, there are two responses that are there. Response number one, that no, you should not go on the vacations. Why you should not go on the vacation? Because right now more than 4.5 crore cases are pending in the Indian judiciary, and there are large many cases that are pending into the higher judiciary also, particularly the Supreme Court. So therefore they should deal with those particular cases and should not go on vacation. Then second thing is that yes, they should go for vacation. Why? Because when we talk about Indian judiciary is lot burdened. They are under a lot of burden, and for that particular matter they should be given the vacations. Otherwise there will be a complete breakdown of the judiciary that will happen. Now, guys, understand that just I want to share one particular thing with you guys, that see, basically when we talk about any human, the human experiences a burnout. Now, what is the burnout? Burnout simply means that if you are doing certain thing over and over and over and over again, there will be a time when you will feel exhausted. You will feel exhausted. You will feel that you are completely spent, and then you will not like to do that particular work. Few days back, what happened? There was a scholar who had solved the 2500 old puzzle in Sanskrit. And how he was able to solve that? He was able to solve that. So there was an article published in the Hindu. We have done that particular thing. It was provided that he was working on that particular puzzle. He was not able to solve it. Then he took a break. He went on vacation. He went for cycling. He went for cooking. He went for swimming, for so many such kind of things. And after the vacation, when he came, within few minutes he was able to solve that particular puzzle which has not been solved for 2500 years in Sanskrit. So basically the humans, they experience a kind of a burnout where they feel exhausted, and in order to recover, in order to get energy, they need breaks, they need vacations. Even, guys, you cannot operate any machinery for 24 hours continuously or for a very long period of time. You need to give rest even to the machinery. So in that particular way, the human beings also need rest so that they can recoup, so that they can recollect their energy. And this even applies to you as UPSC aspirants. Guys, see, if you are not taking the breaks, your productivity is going to dip. That is guaranteed, that will happen. Okay, so that is something. Now this is the way our physiology works. Okay, so this is something that you need to understand. Now the exactly same thing that has been given in the article also. Basically, guys, when we talk about the Indian judiciary, it has been provided that India's judiciary is one of the most overburdened judiciary. If we don't have the vacations, the judges will break down. Then now even the time that is there, the time that is there in the vacation, during that particular time the judges are writing the judgments. Okay, why? Because they don't have time to write the judgments when they are actually sitting on the benches. They are hearing they are hearing the cases, but they are not able to write the judgment. So they write the judgments. Moreover, guys, judges cannot discharge the justice without having read the papers. They need to read other judgments, they need to read other papers. Now see, one bench is dealing with the matter, but what other judges are saying, they need to be updated for that particular thing. So for that particular thing, they need the vacations. 25,000 cases are being filed every year. Other branches of the state are not similar to the judiciary's branch. Judiciary had a lot of work, and they need to be given that particular place, these particular bursts of vacation where they can recoup. Okay, this goes true to our newspaper analysis also. On Sunday we take a break, particularly why? because on Sunday editorials are not coming, but moreover Sunday I particularly utilize to read other things so that I can deliver you the material for the coming week. Okay, so I hope you will understand that logic also. Okay, now moving on. So it has been provided that when we talk about, guys, the Indian Supreme Court, it is over exhausted, but it is working a lot in this particular direction. It's being provided that India's Supreme Court is working for around 190 to 195 days, where the Australia Supreme Court is just working for 97 days. Okay, the next thing that's there, basically urgent matters have also been taken in the vacation by the vacation benches. For example, national judicial appointment case was heard during the summer vacation. Okay, so this is something that is happening. Moreover, when we talk about the judiciary, the number of judges in the Supreme Court had not increased. Okay, now this the number of judges in the Supreme Court actually had increased, and today we have 34 judges, but it should have increased even more, taken the load that is there on judiciary. Is it clear? So this is something, the number of judges have increased, but the volume of litigation, the volume of cases has increased even more. Today, the judiciary caters to 1.4 billion people, okay, and the ratio of judges is 21 judges to 1 million people. There are 21 judges to 1 million people. In this particular direction, guys, the question is coming that because the judges are less, infrastructure is less, we need to focus on increasing that also, rather than just cutting down the vacations. However, there is one particular reform that can be suggested, is that though vacations are not wrong, yes, the duration of the vacations can be reduced, can be rationalized. This is some suggestion that can be given. Okay, so moving to the next article in this particular direction. Okay, India abstains from United Nations Security Council vote on Myanmar, calls for quiet and constructive diplomacy. Okay, now why this particular article is important? This article will come in GS paper number 2, international relation, the issues of neighborhood. Okay, now let's discuss this particular article. So basically, in United Nations Security Council, a resolution has been moved against Myanmar. Why? Because in 2021, the democratic government of Myanmar was toppled by the Myanmar's junta. So Myanmar's military had taken over the power in their own hands. Until then, a lot of democratic decline had happened. A large number of Rohingyas from the Myanmar are fleeing to other countries such as Bangladesh, Thailand, even they are coming to India, because they say that there is a persecution that is happening. The political leaders, they have been put under the home arrest and they have been put into the jail. Many of the protesters have been detained. Human rights are getting violated. So for this particular thing, there is a resolution that has been moved in United Nations Security Council, and in this particular resolution, India, Russia and China have abstained to vote. Okay, neither they supported the resolution nor they went against the resolution. They abstained, they did not voted. The India is particularly talking that we need to bring the quiet, patient and constructive diplomacy to deal with the junta, to deal with the military of Myanmar. According to them, rather than taking that particular thing in such kind of a manner, negotiations are needed to be taken up. So so the basically military overthrew the national unity government in February 2021. Now, when we talk about the India's abstention, it is being criticized by the human rights advocates in Myanmar. Why? Because it is being said that India itself is a democracy, and India always says that the democratic values need to be preserved. But in India's neighborhood, when the democracy has been toppled by a military regime, India is not taking an outright position. So therefore, India's abstention is being criticized, okay, that it is a kind of a soft power that has been taken up. But guys, according to India's permanent representative to the United Nations, it has been said that this resolution would have only entrenched the parties concerned in Myanmar. Basically, what would happen? They say this particular thing, that if such kind of resolution would have been moved, then it would have irritated the Myanmar's military, and what they would have done? in a way they would have went more near to the China, and China would have given anyhow the support to the Myanmar, and then they would lead to the insurgency problem in India's northeast. That will happen. That will happen laterwards. Moreover, that particular thing will just be irritating the interest into the Myanmar, particularly the military interest, and by that particular thing, they are again going to commit even more atrocities on the people. It is not practical thing to be done. Rather, the quiet and constructive diplomacy is needed. Moreover, by passing resolution, what do you think is going to happen? Is it clear or not? So therefore, it is being provided that the diplomacy is more needed. Moreover, India is particularly little bit in a more difficult kind of a situation, because when we talk about the India's northeast region, for the for maintaining peace in the northeast region, we need a lot of Myanmar support, because Myanmar has a big boundary with the northeastern states. So therefore, we need Myanmar, and therefore we cannot irritate Myanmar for our national interest, and therefore India had taken a diplomatic stand in this particular direction. Okay, then moving on. uh, Earlier, ASEAN 5-point consensus was also proposed. Now guys, what is this ASEAN 5-point consensus? So this is one addition. ASEAN 5-point consensus is there, and it provides these five kind of solutions. Number one, ASEAN 5-point consensus provides that there should be an immediate end to violence in the country. Second, dialogue among the parties needed to be carried. Third, appointment of a special envoy, okay, who will be negotiating for the peace. Humanitarian assistance should be given by the ASEAN member to these countries, and special envoy should visit Myanmar and meet all the parties. So these are the 5-point consensus that has been proposed for the Myanmar, and rather we'll say this particular thing, that this 5-point consensus should be accepted. India should push its diplomatic channels. So these 5-point consensus is accepted. Okay, so this is something that can be this is something that has been given in this particular article. Now moving to the next article. Bill seeks to promote ease of doing business. Now guys, this is just a bill that has been introduced. Okay, so this particular bill will be discussed, and when it will finally be passed, then it will become more important. But we can give this particular bill as a reference in GS paper number 3, ease of doing business issues. Okay, now what has happened in the Lok Sabha, a bill has been proposed, and the name of bill is Jan Vishwas Amendment of Provision Bill 2022. Now, what is this particular bill? This bill aims to improve ease of doing business by decriminalizing the minor offenses. Now, understand this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about the employer, on employer, there are a lot of obligations that are imposed, a lot of compliances that are imposed. Now, if employer is not able to fulfill any one or two compliance or any one or two obligation, they will be charged for that particular offense, and many number of times there will be the criminal offense that will be charged. They will be put into the jail. Okay, but many number of times the compliances are not that much serious. So therefore, we needed to decriminalize a lot of compliances on the employer, so that it becomes more easy to do business in India, so that the ease of doing business improves in India. So for this particular thing, for decriminalization of certain provisions, this particular bill has been passed. Now, it envisages the rationalization of monetary penalties. Okay, it also rationalizes that depending on the gravity, if an offense is really important, then only it needs to be charged. It particularly focuses on to a trust-based governance, and certain enactments will be decriminalized in this particular bill. What exactly is going to happen, we will see if this particular bill gets passed. Right now it is just introduced in the Lok Sabha, and then they might be and this bill is also referred to the joint committee of both the houses. So the joint committee will discuss the provisions, will be coming out with certain suggestions. So no need to go too much into the detail right now. Just understand the spirit of this particular bill, and you can give it as a reference. Jan Vishwas Amendment of Provisions Bill 2022. Okay, moving on. Okay, so I can see here, let's take some of the doubts. Sunday को family वाले पूछते हैं, analysis नहीं. Sir, in the given PDF you did not updated explanation regarding this topic. Okay, sir, this Myanmar related page is not included in synoptic notes. Okay, Fine. So it might be some of a it might be some of a issue that would have come while editing this particular notes. So this particular PDF, I will upload separately on Telegram channel. Okay, as it has not come. So usually it doesn't happen, and I don't think it have ever happened. It might have happened today while sending the notes. No issues. I'll add it in the Telegram after this session ends. Now, need taxonomy definitions to avoid greenwashing. Rao. Okay. So basically, what do we mean by taxonomy? Taxonomy means the system of classification. Classification of anything is the taxonomy. Basically, what has happened, the Reserve Bank's Deputy Governor M. Rajeshwar Rao has provided that we need to specifically classify the green projects, green infrastructure projects, green projects. Now understand this particular thing. Right now, right now, there is green financing that's coming. What do we understand by green financing? Green financing refers to the lending to environmentally sustainably economic activities. Okay, green financing is lending the money to the environmentally sensitive and responsible projects. Okay, today investors have become really sensitive. Just a minute. Today investors have become really sensitive, and they want to invest only in those projects which are environmentally sensitive. And for that particular thing, there is also ESG investing that has come. ESG stands for environmental, social and governance. So investors invest in the countries which are environmentally sound, which are leading to some good social impact, and on governance parameters also they are doing the good work. So ESG investing comes here. Moreover, there is also the socially responsible investing that has come. So investors want to invest into the green projects. Now every project is advertising itself as a green project. Every industry is advertising itself as a green industry. But are they really green? And what does this particular word green means? What this particular word environmentally sustainable means? For that particular thing, we need to have proper definitions. We need to have proper definitions so that the investors can make a sound decision, and the risk of greenwashing can be avoided. The risk of greenwashing can be avoided. Now, just a minute. What do we understand by the greenwashing? Greenwashing. So basically, greenwashing is a phenomena where many of the corporates are saying this particular thing, that we are environmentally sustainable, but they are not. They are faking that they are environmentally sustainable. This is greenwashing. Okay, so in order to protect the investors from greenwashing, and in order to ensure that the investors can take the right decision while investing, there needs to be proper classification, taxonomic definitions as what a green project means. Okay, and so that they can do all these particular disclosures. So a list of environmentally sustainable activities which are based on some kind of a technical definition will aid in flow of financing to this entire sector. And today when we talk about India's climate commitment, we have done, for example, Panchamrit targets we have taken in COP26. Moreover, we have updated our INDC targets. Then we have also said we will become carbon neutral by COP by 2070. So carbon neutrality has been adopted. So India had a lot of climate commitments, and we need green infrastructure investment trusts also, okay, which can help in this particular objective. So this is something that has been provided in this particular article. Fine. So guys, I hope that you have understood this article, and now moving to the next one, that is Rajya Sabha nod to add more communities to ST list of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Okay. Now, what this particular article is all about. So basically guys, these names we have discussed in our earlier newspaper analysis discussions also. So basically, in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, there are certain communities that have been added to the ST list, and for that particular thing, the bill has been brought in the parliament. So basically, the Rajya Sabha has cleared the bill, fine, for inclusion of the, now guys, आपको यहाँ पे क्या करना है? You just need to remember the names of the tribes and in which state they are found. Why? Because in the past, question on the tribals have been asked. But what they do, they'll be giving you, for example, the name of 4 tribes, and they'll ask that on which state, in which state they are found, state A, state B, state C, state D. Okay, and then you need to just you need to just make the right combination. So therefore, the tribals that are into the news, you need to see them. So basically, there is Nari Korvan and Kurivikaran tribes which have been added into the ST list, and these tribes are from Tamil Nadu. Okay, I hope that it is clear. So Narvikaran and Kurvikaran tribe, these two tribes have been added to the list of scheduled tribes and they are from Tamil Nadu. And then the other is Beti Kuruba community. Now Beta Kuruba community. Now Beta Kuruba community, it is a synonymous name. It is a synonym for the already categorized tribe, that is Kudu Kuruba. So Kudu Kuruba's synonym is Beta Kuruba. Some of the tribals use this particular second title also. So therefore, they have been categorized into the ST list in Karnataka. So three tribes we get. One is the Nari Korvan, second is Kurivikaran, and the third is the Beta Kuruba. Beta Kuruba is from Karnataka and the other two are from Tamil Nadu. They got added. And for adding them into the tribal list, what has happened? Constitution, Scheduled Tribe Order, Second Amendment Bill has been introduced. Fine. And the Constitution, Scheduled Tribe Order, Fourth Amendment Bill has been produced. Now they got passed and they will be added. Now, in this particular direction, guys, the opposition have provided that there are, and many other members have also provided that there are other communities also, there are the other versions of the tribes which are using the names which are synonymous but they are not recognized, so they should also be recognized. So the oppositions have asked that other tribes should also be brought, and we need to bring a kind of a simple mechanism by which the tribals can be added in the ST list. So this demand have been made. So guys, these are the tribes that got added. Beyond that, you don't need to go too much in the detail in this particular article. Okay. Now, taking the mains practice question for today. So the mains practice question says this thing, that use of emerging technologies for spreading terror is an issue of increasing concern across the globe. Yes, we see this thing, that the terrorism has become the biggest problem. In this context, discuss why the international community need to rise above political differences and defeat the challenge of terrorism. Okay, so this will be a 10 marker question. Okay, and will be for GS paper number 2. So that is all, guys, about this particular session today. And guys, I hope that you have understood it. And with this, we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. So that is all, guys, for today. Now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves, guys. And if you like the video, only if you like, please do hit the like button. And I read all of your comments, though many number of times I'm not able to reply because you know of so many of the classes that we have, but I read every one of your comment, and it's really important for me that you comment. Thank you so much for all of your lovely comments. Thank you so much, guys, and please do leave your comments. It really means a lot. Thank you so much.